Welcome to Wax Pro UNCUT. My name is Erica.
And I'm Rachel.
And today we have a very special guest with us, Loren Varden. Loren, welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here today.
Wouldn't miss it.
Haven't seen you in a long time.
Been grinding away.
I
Just
know.
stripping it up.
Well, do you
waxing.
want to start by telling us how we know you? Tell the fans.
Tell the fans. So, well, I've known Rachel since middle school.
Yeah.
And Erica since high school. I don't know if you remember our PE class freshman year, we got into a huge fight.
Yeah, that did happen.
Yeah. But it only brought us closer. And it wasn't just her and I, it was the whole
I know,
class.
yeah,
but
right. It was, it was
It
bad.
was a brawl.
Yeah. Did we get
actually.
suspended, perhaps?
We all had to take a trip down to the principal's office for that one.
That was embarrassing. So we've come a long way.
We've had a lot of growth for
That's
sure.
right. We played basketball together, too.
Yes.
That's right.
Well, how I made the basketball team, I will never know. It was a pity.
Right. I mean, it's all
Pity
right.
acceptance.
Pity acceptance. Right.
Oh.
But I did not know you guys knew each other since middle school, so that's a really long time.
Yeah. We
Very
go way
long
back.
road.
I know.
Right.
Good times.
So full circle.
Full circle. And then after we graduated, you went off to aesthetics. I don't know what you were doing after we graduated.
It's weird because I do. I remember. I was already working for the company.
Place. Right.
The
Well,
company who shall not be named through the whole series.
Right.
Bleep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where all roads led back to. I got hired at said place, and then we were all just working as one big happy
One big
family in the
unit.
waxing world.
Yes.
Yeah.
I leaned on you to wax my hoo-ha monthly. Great job.
Happy
by
to
the
do
way.
that for you.
Great job, by
Happy
the
to
way.
do it.
Yeah.
Well,
That's how it
before
all-
we talk about where we met back up in the waxing world, I want to go back a step and talk about your aesthetic school journey. So post high school, you didn't go straight to aesthetic school. Did you college? What did you do?
I went to community college. I wanted to go to cosmetology school right after I graduated, but my parents at the time considered that a hobby.
Okay.
So I was going to cosmetology, or no, I wasn't. I was going to community college. I think I went for like dental at one point, switched it up to psychology, marketing. I kind of dabbled in all of it before I was also bartending and I was working a lot.
Okay.
So I chose to I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do, so I just decided to work. And then I did that for 2 years. And then I was like, you know what? I'm paying my own way anyways. I want to go to cosmetology school. That's what I'm doing.
As you should.
So you did Cosmo or Esty?
I did cause.
Oh, I did
So
not know
then
that.
in cosmetology school, did you have the intention when you went in to do hair? Or when did your love for waxing, was that born somewhere in cosmetology school or was it after?
Kind of. So I fell in love with makeup and I wanted to, like in that 2 years that I was working, so I really wanted to get into bridal hair and makeup. And when I went and did my tour, I thought maybe just doing aesthetics would be enough, but she sold me. She was great at sales. So she convinced me to do cosmetology.
Okay.
And then it was after my first haircut that I was like, are we allowed to cuss?
You can cuss.
I was like, fuck, like, this is not, I hated
Not
it.
doing this,
I
yeah.
would hide in the big dryer to like get away from having to do a haircut.
Okay.
And then we went into the aesthetics portion of school and I did my first leg wax and I was hooked.
Okay.
And I had been getting wax at the time and I was seeing Loren at the time. And I was always pretty fascinated. I would be the weirdo that like sat up and watched. I'm like, what are you doing? That was really cool.
Do I have an ingrown?
Yeah.
Can I see?
What's happening down there?
Right.
So it was always something I was fascinated by, but I really didn't think it would be what I started doing after school. I needed a job, so I called Erica, and they were hiring in the call center.
Of the company who
my
shall not be
God.
named.
Oh my God. I totally forgot that you
Yeah.
worked in the call center.
Yeah, so I started
Yeah.
with this corporate chain, answering phones, booking appointments, and then right after I graduated, there was an opening at one of the locations.
To start
and
waxing.
To start waxing, and it lined up perfectly with when I got my license, and I just kind of swooped right in and got thrown to the wolves, but it was the best thing that ever happened. I really did.
So then how long did you work for said company?
2.5 years.
2.5 years. Okay. So then
I have some memories and some questions, but go ahead.
no,
Rach.
no. I mean, I was just going to say, at what point in the 2.5 years did you decide or know that you wanted to leave the corporate world and go out on your own?
It wasn't until probably the last 6 months we had a change in management, and because to me it was good. I had no complaints until it wasn't anymore.
Right.
And the new management came in and really, I felt like before that there was good culture, there was a good team, a solid team. I mean, at that point, at 2 years, I was still the rookie. Like we had a solid long-term team.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
we had a very long crew at that location.
yeah.
I mean, you were a part of it. You guys worked together at the location for how long?
I don't remember. A year?
Before you had Penny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was
so
probably
a year.
Yeah. So you guys were kind of intersecting. Yeah. Okay.
So when new management came on was when I really felt like there was a light that got shined on those corporate values.
I recall because I hired that manager on my way out.
Yeah.
And I
wasn't sure if that was
felt very, I felt a little guilty. Because,
You warned us.
Yeah, I felt bad. I mean, I knew what my bosses wanted me to find to supersede me, or I guess replace me.
Yeah.
And so I was definitely giving them what they wanted, but
Yeah.
I knew what that would mean for everyone at the store.
Yeah.
So I do recall now.
Yeah.
It's just, it kind of all blurs together.
It's we blacked it out a little bit.
That's
it was
what it is. It's not
traumatizing.
blur. It's, what is it? Cognitive dissonance?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Well,
it.
I think it's interesting because having all three of us worked for this company for a long time, you for 2.5 years, us for 10. I think I left at the 11-year mark. There was a point when we started with them that it felt like not a mom and pop, but definitely more like small business,
felt like
right?
family.
It felt like family.
Yeah.
Like we were treated very well. The goals and the salesy push side of it really wasn't present. And then there was for sure a shift where it became like you are a number, you're a name in the company, you are all about like how much you produce and put out. What is your pre-book rate? Like it became
Yeah.
all about numbers and sales. And I think there were a lot of us that went, I don't want to do this anymore. This is kind of not what I signed up for, or it doesn't speak to my values of how I want to
Right.
continue in the industry.
Right.
So it is interesting that you remember that shift because I did as well. And I think if it wasn't the point that a lot of us left the company, it for sure planted the seed for people to go like, how do I get out of here? What do I do? What do I have to do next to
Right.
kind of move on?
100%.
Right.
So
You said it took like about 6 months, your last 6 months, for you to kind of make a move. How did you know you were ready for that?
You know, I'm not proud of this moment, okay? Well, first of all, I really thought, naive Loren, thought like, okay, this team that is so like solid and has been for so long, they're losing their key players. They're losing their regional trainers that travel and train all the other stores that are opening. Like, there's no way that these owners are gonna see this and stand for this, because I was naive. And so I thought that if I just stuck it out, they would make a change. And that didn't happen. And then it got to the point where I was the most seasoned one left. Like, we had replaced the entire team except for me and maybe like one other person. But I remember I came in one day, I was working a double. And mind you, at the time, I had the highest retention. I had the highest pre-book. I had almost 100% retention. But I didn't do great in sales because that just wasn't what my passion was at the time. And I had walked a client up, didn't take them to the product wall, and this manager would sit in the chairs in the lobby and watch us. And then our pagers, he would write little memos. And I walked to the back, and he put on the little pager, like, why didn't you take that last client to the product wall? And I was like, I just shrugged it off. I'm like, bro, shut up. I'm doing my job, okay? And then I noticed that any gaps that I had in the rest of my day were blocked. And so,
so as you couldn't take any other clients for the day.
yeah.
I know
We
what
were
that
getting
means.
a virtual spanking.
I was not the kind I like. So the receptionist had been walking back, and I asked her, I'm like, why are my books blocked? And she was like, you're gonna have to go ask sir. And I was like, okay. And this is what the part I'm not proud of. So I march up there. There's clients in there, and I basically was like, what's up? Why are my books blocked?
What's up, hobby?
Well, you want to step up? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
say it to my face. So
You were hot.
I was steaming in that red hot tamale.
Yeah.
Ooh, did I just give it away?
Context clues along the way.
Clues.
Yeah.
So he said, let's go talk in the room. And I said, all right, let's talk. And we had a screaming match. Like, this grown-ass man was yelling back at me. And I basically...
Wait, who started yelling? Now I'm gossiping, but who kicked it off?
I mean, he came in guns blazing. He wasn't yelling, but he was attacking, pointing out all the things I was doing wrong. And I had just had enough, and that was my breaking point. And so I definitely yelled. I'm a girl, I was probably on my period. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. And I kind of
it was charged up too.
It was.
Like,
This
it's
had
not
been a
just
long
being
time
a girl.
coming.
You're charged up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just basically saying how he's the reason we've lost all of our solid team members. He's completely ruined the culture. He doesn't take time to, bring light to the good things that we're doing. He's only attacking us all the time. And that's a nice version of what I said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then that was that. He opened my books back. He took 5 seconds to say, like, you're right. You have great retention, blah, blah, blah. And then finished my shift. Oh, I kind of left a part out. I had already been...
The wheels were turning.
The wheels were turning, and I had already been peeking at salon options. But at the time...
Is this like spaces to rent or just to... Okay.
And at the time, I had someone that was going to rent with me.
Okay.
And...
At same company or a different person?
A different person. So... But this was before there were a lot of options for salon suites. So the one that I was looking at had a wait list. And so anyways, the next day, I'm driving to work another double, for sure thinking I'm getting fired. Because I said everything under the sun.
What you said. Like,
yeah, I was like, I'm losing my job today, for sure. And then as I was pulling into the parking lot, they called me and my room opened up. And I was like,
I'm out of here.
I'm coming on my lunch break. Hold that for me. And the person I was supposed to get it with was not ready. Like, she was like, oh, that was fast. And I was like, I got to do this anyways. So it was terrifying. But I had reached that point. So all that to answer your question, I'm not a yeller. I'm not a screamer. But the fact that this environment brought that out in me was telling to me that enough was enough. And this was not the place for me.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't have a business plan. I didn't have anything in order. I just knew I couldn't stay there.
Yeah.
So we just
So you
said,
just did it.
fuck
You
it.
got to get out.
Good
So then
job.
from when you left the company that we cannot name, did you become Stripped at this point? Is that when Stripped was born, or you just went out as, hi, I'm Loren, I was working here previously, come follow me, or that's where the name was born?
So it wasn't going to be open for like a month-ish. So the room that I was going to rent.
Okay.
So I had been brainstorming a name that whole time. And then it was funny, like a couple weeks into like almost getting ready to have my suite, I was out having margaritas, and Paul actually is the one that came up with Stripped, the name.
Oh.
Ooh.
He was,
Lauren's fiance. Okay.
love you. And to be honest, I was pretty terrified to take clients because everyone was leaving, and I was like, I don't know. I feel like they're watching.
For sure.
And I didn't know that those contracts were basically bullshit.
Right.
So I was pretty terrified. There was a couple of my like ride or dies that I was like, hey, here's my number. If one day you call and I'm not here, just call me. That's all I said.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very fine, delicate line that we had to dance of like, here's how I can be found. If you choose yourself to come seek me out, I would love to see you again.
Like, I didn't give anyone where
Right.
or the address or anything.
Yeah.
I just was like, here's my phone number. One day
Yeah.
you might need it.
So a little just context behind that is that typically salons will make you sign non-competes, non-disclosures, non-solicitations contracts. And so always check with your legal team, but they can try to hold you accountable for affecting their business if you so choose to poach the clients that they gave you. So it's a very fine line, but NDAs, non-competes, I mean, there's ways around everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the people that want to see you will find you.
They will.
There are a ton of people that say that they will and don't. I think is a huge part of taking that leap of knowing that you're going to have to start building and grinding from the moment you leave, because the business is your own and you have to bring the clientele in, which
Right.
is
Yeah.
scary. It's a huge part of it.
Well, and I had mapped out like, okay, how many Brazilians do I need to do in a day to at least just cover rent
Right.
and
How do I keep the lights
supplies?
on?
Good job. That's
huge.
Seriously, like way advanced for most estheticians. I've talked to a lot of estheticians who don't know what their break-even point is. So that's amazing that you were so young and determined and already had an actual game plan. Yeah, I love that.
And
That's great.
I mean, I still even use that in my business today. I calculate like how much, what's the average ticket per brow chair per room? Okay, now at full capacity, full staffed, what can I bring in, work backwards? And that's kind of how I've like set goals.
So
and
where
stuff.
did you learn that from? Because that is not curriculum that is taught at any business. No one's going to teach you the sauce. So where did you pick all that up?
I want to say I just was born like this. But actually, my stepdad is an accountant, and he had been coming into this said place and getting just like his ears and his nose waxed. And he used to say, Loren, you could do this. Go do this. Like, all you need to do is figure out how much you need to make a day. And that was kind of all he left was like, figure out what you need to make a day and then do it. And
Yeah.
I was like, good advice. So, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I could do that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so at
and
this
I would
point,
look at like, because we'd get our reports. So I would look at like, okay, this is what I'm bringing in for the business. I can do that.
I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And
Over
then
time.
and you went and did that.
And I did that.
So then you rent this room. You're in there then by yourself because other girl backs out.
Yes.
You do it on your own for how long?
About a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Okay. And then what percentage roundabout would you say people followed you that were existing clients? Not as many as you think, right?
Not nearly.
Yeah.
I would say I could probably count on both hands.
Like who you retained to this day or who left at that time?
I would say both. I feel like the ones that
Yeah.
left with me
Are still with
have
you.
stayed with me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's probably 10 people.
Yeah, I think it's something that a lot of estheticians, frankly, get false confidence about.
Yes.
Is I'm really good. This whole place is going to burn down without me. I've got this full book of business. Everyone's saying they're going to follow me, and you believe it. And I've seen this like time and time again.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, I used to be on the management side, so at some point I was like, haha. But now,
Joke's on you.
Yeah.
joke's on you. But now being on the other side of it, you understand it better. But how did you build your book of business then? Because obviously only a handful of clients came with you.
Mm-hmm.
So now Stripped is this big business, storefront. How'd you do it?
So in the beginning, I was terrified of Instagram. Plus, I hated it. So I actually chose to network a ton. So I joined networking groups. I got out in the community. And my theory was like, well, I'm doing something so personal. So I need these people to trust me. I want to get in front of their face and I want them to know like who I am and what I have to offer. So I did a ton of networking and I offered referral incentives. And I really built, I would say the first year and a half, 2 years, I built most of my business from those two.
So like
Ways.
organic referrals. Yeah.
And it paid off. I mean, I would post on social media, but it would be like once a month. Like it was not enough. And I had no strategy to it. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So like what advice could you give, a new entrepreneur in regards to social media, how often you're posting content? Because it's like where people live now. Things have changed a lot. When we first started in the industry, it was 08, 09, like maybe you had a Facebook. Instagram wasn't a thing. Paid ads, like we didn't have access to, these marketing tools.
Yeah.
So what would you give a current day entrepreneur advice about?
I would say when it comes to social media,
Social media.
I think that you need to be 100% authentic. I think that people nowadays, I think social media has changed a ton. And I think people are craving community and connection and actual human beings. And I find that the content of mine that performs the best is when it's me and my face, or it's my team members, and we're just being who we are and representing Stripped in the way of like, we like to have fun and we're goofy and we're silly. When we're just posting like before and afters or business related stuff, those perform the worst.
For sure.
So I feel like you definitely have to get comfortable with showing up as who you are
Right.
and owning that. And I think people really like that.
Yeah. I feel like customers, clients, they want to connect. They want to know, oh, she's like me, right? Like, oh, she kind of looks like me, same humor. Oh, I love the aesthetic of that building, the music selection. Like, oh, that speaks to me.
Yeah.
So I think that's that authenticity that you do really well, you and your team. Your brand in general.
Yeah, your brand is
I just wanted
next
to
level.
give you mad props because from a consumer standpoint, I love it. I follow all your stuff. You're super funny.
guys.
Make sure to follow Loren.
Yes, follow Lauren. Tell your Instagram handle
Instagram,
is
Strip Daisy.
Strip Daisy.
what? Strip Daisy.
Strip Daisy.
If you don't know how to spell stripped, it's double P.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay,
Not
so
stripe.
taking a step back to what we were talking about before. So you're in your own space. You decide you want to expand. So at this point, you're
Yeah.
one room, one gal show. And
Yep.
then you decide, let's go bigger. You got a brick and mortar storefront. You built out your own salon studio space.
Well, first, I hired Aubrey while I was still in the suite.
Okay, so you guys shared the suite part time.
Yes.
She
so
came in certain
so
days.
I had reached the point where I was working 5 days a week and I had hit full capacity.
Right, okay.
So I brought her on, took a day back because I knew, okay, I want to expand and I need more time to be able to do that.
To do that.
So she was with me for about a year before we had reached her capacity. So we had this, there was no room to grow with where we were. So it was time.
It was time. So then you started sourcing a building or a place you wanted
Mm-hmm.
to rent. And so what was the process of leaving your one-man studio or two-woman studio into your own storefront? How long was that process?
It took a year to do the build out.
The build
and
out
that's
was a
just
year.
the build out. It
Okay.
probably took us 6-ish months to like find the place, work through the contract, go back and forth doing that, sign it.
Follow-up question. Were you surprised how long it took?
For the build out?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if, again, I'm just naive, Lauren, to think that we wouldn't have hit roadblocks, but the roadblocks we hit weren't what I would think we would have that
Right.
would prolong it.
Right.
Like permitting stuff, random things. I remember coming to see it. You had to, it was missing like a piece of your countertop to be compatible for people in a wheelchair. And you had to like, it was a
FDA
custom.
compliant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it needed to have like
FDA.
another 4 inches added or.
That's not
ADA. The ADA.
FTA.
Clearly, I didn't learn anything through the process.
It's
We
okay.
swear-
Self-taught. It's fine.
Truly,
Self-taught.
school hard knocks.
The ADA.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was that, and then there was like something in your bathroom was like the door
Well-
swung the wrong way, or random things that you're
What
like,
happened
what?
was, I'll tell you the real story.
Okay.
So I had hired a contractor that I don't know anything about buildings and building things.
Yeah.
So I hired this contractor. We're doing all the things, and I had asked, I'm like, do we need permits for any of the work that we're doing? And they're like, no, nothing that we're doing requires permits. And I was like, okay, cool. So then,
Great.
Perfect.
right. So then November, we submit for a certificate of occupancy. It's taking forever. And my lease was up in December at the studio. So I had a client that worked with the city, and I was like, hey, I need your help. You know someone that can help me? And she's like, yeah, I'll put you in contact. So I call him, and he's like, yeah, so what is it that you did to the store? And I was like, oh, we just added walls, floor.
We just reconstructed the whole thing.
I was like, basically,
He's like, okay.
walls, paint, and floors. And he was like, okay, your contractor left that out, so we have to void this, and you need to get permits now. So I had to hire an architect to come back, draw up
Draw their
plans,
plans.
and that is what took an additional 6 months.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So I don't want to assume. Why did you go with that initial contractor?
So more fun stories. I had a couple come out that were like newly general contractors, and because I felt like what I was doing was pretty simple, they were like, yeah, we can totally do that. I'm like, okay, cool. I have them come before I sign the lease. We do a walkthrough. I sign the lease. I call them the next day. I'm like, let's get this party started. It's official. And they were like, oh, we're actually not commercially licensed. And I was like, that would have been really good to know maybe during like the 2 walkthroughs we
Right.
did together. But
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's
that's
fine.
Frustrating.
so then I was like, well, the clock is ticking and I need a contractor. And I had a friend of mine who these contractors were family friends. So it was kind of like I just need one. And like, I trust my friend.
Yeah, the judgment there.
Yeah.
Sure. So what kind of things would you advise a new owner, a storefront owner, about the build out process, or contractors, how to vet them out? How would you best guide them?
Well, I would say first to plan for double, if not triple, the expense and double, if not triple, the time.
Okay,
That's
that's
just
a good rule of
audit.
thumb. Yeah.
Especially because what I thought would happen is like, oh, maybe we couldn't get the tile in, or like it would take a while to get someone to do this. I thought it would be more like surrounding the actual construction. But you can actually look up contractors. There's like a national database, so you
Yeah.
can see and learn if they have, marks against-
Credentials.
Exactly.
Their experience.
Yeah.
Their
I would-
portfolio. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So that I would probably have done more research with who I was working with.
Yeah.
And I would just assume you need a permit. Pretty much need a permit for everything. So
Yeah.
to have truly all your ducks in a row before you just dive in, because once you dive in, you're on a time crunch, like
Right.
you only have so many months of, like for me, I had worked in a couple months of free rent.
Into your TI.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tenant improvement. So you have an allotment of either funds or time that, the, what do you call it? Not tenant, the renter.
Oh, the landlord?
Landlord. Clearly I don't have a landlord. So you could work a deal with them as far as like,
Yeah.
a few months rent, or they give you some money to work with, like $1 per square footage, so you could bring your studio up to space,
Yeah.
or your space up to specs.
Yes.
So you work that in.
Yeah, I was a bulldog. I got both.
You got both.
I said, I
Hell
want
yeah.
13 per square foot,
Yeah.
and I want 4 months free rent. And they said, yes, ma'am.
They said, yes, sir.
Please,
So it sounds like, all right, first you're fighting your manager, now you're bulldogging the hell out
Lauren
of
is
these
really
contracts
aggressive. She's so aggressive.
landlords. I love it. Learning a lot
yeah.
about you, friend.
Okay, so you are doing this build out, you move in. Now, what is Stripped now? You guys are how many square feet? How many employees? Tell us all about Stripped.
So we're just shy of 1,400 square feet. We have 4 employees currently. We're going to be hiring this summer.
Okay, you included in the 4, or you have you and 4?
Myself and 4.
Okay. And one of them, do you have a front desk gal, and then the others are
3 waxers.
service providers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So our newest member will be a service provider.
And you call them waxers or service providers?
So we've kind of branched off into 2. So we have a brow bar. We have brow artists that work specifically with the brows, and then we have our wax specialists that are designated to do body.
Okay.
If you need to follow Stripped and go and look at the salon space, the studio space, because I love your setup. So the chairs that they do brows are all open air. They're not confined in a room, and they're these really pretty chairs with big, cool mirrors, and they recline. But I love that energy of like some of it's exposed. It's still back behind the wall that like they're not in the lobby.
Yeah, right.
But there's rooms for waxing that are closed in. But that, just the vibe and the setup of that is well done.
And also
I
the
really like that.
aesthetic, it's very groovy. So how did you
Yeah.
come up with that concept?
Stripped is a lot of me. It's just kind of what
Groovy, baby.
what made me happy and what I liked.
Yeah.
And I kind of just put that into it. And for me, I felt like a lot of the waxing studios that I had seen were very sterile or just more simple than I like. And I was like, I think waxing already is something that can be intimidating. I think it can be a little scary for people. So I wanted somewhere that people walked in and they felt like, damn, this place is kind of fun.
It's
like
fun.
I'm having
It's
a good
so
time
fun.
in here.
Yeah.
It's disco balls and hot pink and the mural on the wall with the like. It's a very fun vibe. Your branding is top notch. So
Thank you very
Yeah.
well
much.
done.
Yeah, so I wanted it to be looked at as like just a fun place to hang, and you just happen to get waxed while you're there.
While you're there.
That's a great concept. I got to come see it. I haven't seen it since you were breaking ground, and that was a while
Way
ago.
too long ago.
Yeah. Kind of guilty. Again, it's twice guilty today. So I want to talk about the industry a little bit. So we kind of skipped over your actual experience in cosmetology school. So like you told us that you went the cosmetology route because you got sold on it essentially, but hated hair, et cetera. But how did you feel about the actual like curriculum, being in the classroom, what you learned in the time that you were there?
I felt like a lot of the curriculum surrounded getting us prepared for state board. I didn't really feel like it dove very deep into especially waxing.
No, not at all.
I think we spent a half day on wax theory, and then they're like, okay, go wax each other.
Here's some honey wax. Try not to rip your skin off.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing what? Where?
Yeah.
Well,
They-
I had been
no
watching,
technical.
remember? I watched my waxer. So
Right.
when we had shut the blinds, and it was the day that I did my first leg wax, and she came in, she busted us, and she was like, that's what they do at said waxing chain. We don't do that here. And I was like, okay, you guys don't really do any waxing, but all right.
Yeah, so how do I do it?
Yeah, but I was so intrigued. So shortly after that we talked. But yeah, I don't feel like I really walked away with tangible tools to step into waxing
Yeah.
or really anything.
Which is insane for the
Yeah.
amount of money that you pay to go there, right? The time spent.
Right.
We went to the same school, different times. The program was reshaped. Obviously, you were cause I was aesthetics, but it was, I mean, arguably maybe the nicest, best school in Arizona.
Yeah.
Our tuition was the highest. And so it's insane to think how far the curriculum can swing from the best school to the worst school.
Right.
Like if we feel like we were at the best school and that's what we got, like what are these schools
Right.
that are on the lower end of the spectrum giving their
Right.
students?
I could tell you because because here's the thing. I had hired arguably 500 to 700 estheticians during my span at the company, right? So I knew that it didn't matter what school you went to.
Yeah.
The
Everyone
education
would
was the
come
same.
out. Yeah, everyone would come out with the
100%.
same deer in headlights, terrified, holding the wax stick, you know,
The
the
wrong
wrong
way.
way. Just terrified to see their first vagina.
Yeah.
Realizing this isn't for me. Everyone had the same experience. So when I decided to get my license, which was in my later years, right after I had already left management, all the craziness, I was like, I'm going for the cheapest school because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I already knew how to wax.
Which was
Yeah.
smart because that's the advice to a lot of people is go to the cheapest school because everything you learn happens when you graduate anyway, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So
And you don't really know that until you graduate.
right.
Like I thought I did go to a great
Right.
school. I loved my experience from I made good friends. We had fun.
Yeah.
But then
The culture of the school was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then when you're out in the real world, it's like,
Oh no.
I don't know anything.
I'm really sorry that I
yeah.
just did that to your labia.
right.
I'm new.
I
Right.
knew, please.
So we told you all about Wax Pro.
Yeah.
So how do you think Wax Pro is going to help fill that gap for these students?
I think that it's honestly genius because I feel like not only are you going to give people the tools to adequately do the service that they're wanting to go into, but it's more than just that. You're touching on how to start a business so people don't have to go to that middle, what do I call it? Experience.
Well, the trial and error, right? Of like trying to figure it out on their own.
Right.
But like
Skip
sink
it
or
so
It's
swim.
like
many steps.
purgatory.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
It's almost a bummer that they have to go get a license because I feel like Wax Pro Academy is going to provide every tool that they're going to need to be successful in the waxing industry, except a license.
Right.
Right.
So I think it's great.
Thank you.
Good job,
Thanks.
ladies.
Thanks.
So do
Thank
we.
you.
Thank you.
So just to kind of wrap things up, because you're a busy businesswoman, what would you like to see in the industry in the next 5 years? What changes or, advancements would you want to see in the industry?
I feel like it would be. Hold on.
We're like, we could just do wine break.
What? Yeah, right. A little.
Like a SpongeBob SquarePants. Wine break.
Right,
break.
right. 10 hours later.
Yeah. So are you saying industry as in waxing or like with the school? Like kind of
well,
beauty
in-
industry.
industry.
Yeah.
I feel like there are a lot of people jumping headfirst into starting their own business in the industry, which I think is awesome. I am someone that I will always respect the hustle, like go get it. But I do feel like without the proper knowledge and skills to do this, it almost hinders the rest of us. Because if somebody goes, because everyone thinks like, oh, I'm just gonna go make all this money, there still needs to be equality there. There still needs to be, it needs to be something that's still being like ethically done.
Regulated and the set of a standard.
There should
Yeah.
still be a high standard, and the amount of people that come to us with these terrible experiences
Right.
makes my skin crawl because it dampens I'm going to use Brazilians as example. We all know somebody that's had a terrible experience. And then it makes that person never want to try it. And I just think that we can do better.
I agree.
So I feel like we all need to raise the standard.
Yeah.
And I feel like customer service has gone AWOL these
non-existent.
days.
Yeah.
And I just feel like we need to bring that back. Like, I don't know.
Quality,
100% from
Right.
top to bottom, beginning to end. There should always be
100%.
quality, and your client should always be top priority.
Yep.
Unless they're an asshole.
Yeah.
That's
Then
different.
boot 'em.
And then, no.
But yeah, so I just think we
Right.
need to do better.
I love it.
Having
No.
an education is going to be the first step.
Yeah, I think education and just that customer service. It's crazy. It's such a simple thing. It's free to provide,
Yeah.
yet it's missing.
Well,
so
and I think that, yes, people are looking for a great wax, but they're looking for an all-around great experience and how you greet them, what their checkout is like. All those things matter
Yeah, I
in the
agree.
whole experience. So,
make waxing great again.
amen.
Rachel, do you want to ask our infamous closing question?
Well, I have two. My
Okay.
first one, just because I'm curious, is what is your worst habit in the wax suite?
Ooh,
And
good
so
one.
I had said, if you want to hear mine to get
Yeah, I do.
inspiration, mine is I wait till the last minute to order wax. I always run out of wax and have to go buy it at triple the cost at your local beauty store. It's so bad. That is my worst habit. Just it doesn't not necessarily when you're waxing, but just all around. What's your worst habit?
Ooh, that's tough.
She's like,
"Nothing,
I'm not
perfect."
gonna expose myself.
I actually don't have any. I think for me, it's not so much in the wax suite, but I do feel like having stepped into this role now as a leader, I am kind of figuring it out as I go. So I think my worst habit, and I'm working on it, is accountability. Like giving my team goals to me, and then I hate even admitting this, but then sometimes it's like, oh, I'm
Following up on the goal.
Yeah, pretty much. But
Yeah.
I feel like it's something that because I'm mindful, I'm like really working on.
Yeah.
We're figuring it out. We got a system in place, but up until this point, I was
That's
like,
good.
wow, this is.
That's huge though. And I mean, you wear many hats. Like you're a waxer
Yeah.
yourself. You still take your own clients in your space. So
Yeah.
to have to lead people and do all these jobs, it's a lot to manage. So
And it's a tough line. Like, okay, I think I'm going to start to work on the business more instead of in the business. And I know I have clients that won't be happy, but I feel like it's what I need to do for my team.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Okay, so our final question for you is what is your craziest client story?
Ooh.
Oh,
You might have a few. And
I
we
have a
We have
few.
time if you feel they need to be shared. We
Okay.
are more than
And if
willing.
you name drop, we're gonna bleep it out.
I don't even remember these witches'
Oh, okay.
names.
Because I sure do. I make a poster of them and throw axes.
Throw darts? Yeah.
Like, cut that out. Cut that out.
Cut that out. Cut that out.
Well, do we want like humorous or do
We
we,
want
want
all
like
of it.
Just like
We've
the
got
one
time.
client story, we're like, oh my god, this one client.
Okay, so this was at said waxing chain years ago, and I had just got LASIK eye surgery. You
This
were
should be
there.
good.
You were there.
I like the foundation that is
I'm
set for this
surprised you
story.
could see.
I really, after this story, I shouldn't have
She's
been
like,
at
you were
work.
there.
Yeah, I think I saw you there. So I was healing, I had my little weird glasses on, and I had this client come in. It was a hot summer day, and so when we were going to do her booty, I had to put powder on her, obviously, and she tooted. But the powder just puffed like up into my freshly laced eyeballs. So,
Oh no.
and I think farts are absolutely hilarious. So I'm like trying not to bust out laughing, but I'm scared that I'm gonna get like
Blind.
go blind, septic in my eyeballs.
septic. All right, what did the fart sound like?
I don't even remember because I was so traumatized by the
Blocked
puff
it out.
of
Right.
powder that
That just blacked
Oh
out.
my
Yeah.
god.
like it was like a
I was just curious, with powder, if it's like a poof.
yeah, it was like a because
is
also
gold.
the position she was in really spreads things out. So
Right.
there's no, Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
I'm so sorry you had to go through that.
How are your
Well,
eyes
it actually
today?
gets
Yeah.
better. So
there's more?
it's kind of funny.
Okay.
Oh.
Not about really the client, but later that day. This is when I was new, and my dad.
Same day?
Same day. I left work, and I called my dad because I had to tell somebody, and he to this day calls me his powder puff girl.
Oh my.
Aw.
Changing you in my phone now.
Thanks, client, for the nickname.
Powder puff.
So, Powder Puff,
Yeah.
definitely going to refer to you as that.
That's fine.
So
I earned it.
much learned today. Seriously.
Good.
I mean that from the bottom of my
glad.
heart. Thank you for sharing and being vulnerable and your authentic self.
Tried. Thanks
great
for having
having
me.
you.
Great. No, we loved having you on. That was lovely.
I'm always here if you need another session.
Another session. We might
Perfect.
call you back for more.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
See you later.
Bust my titties out for this.
Well, guys, thanks for joining Wax Pro Uncut. It was a great time, and I hope you enjoyed.